How in the world did a girl from Colombia who literally didn't speak a word of English end up working in the heart of Silicon Valley years later? Hi, my name is Angela Guzman, and I'm a designer and entrepreneur based out of the Bay Area. In order for me to answer this question, I have to share my life's journey. But in short, I was able to do this because of two things. The very first, my ability to overcome obstacles in a fearless fashion. And number two, my interest in seeking goals in order to move forward. When you combine an approach and your goals, you end up getting what I call being fearlessly forward. This in turn has allowed me to have an intuitive approach into the tech industry, not only as a woman in tech, but as a Latina in tech. Throughout the last 13 years, I have helped shape the way we communicate, share content, and interact with our environment by leading and co-designing experiences at places like Apple, Airbnb, Google, and most recently, my very own digital coaching platform, Tijiko. You may have actually used some of the products I've worked throughout my career, including one of my favorites, the original set of Apple emojis. Because of my unique approach into tech, I've been invited to numerous interviews from all over the globe, and I take this opportunity to help inspire, educate, and empower anybody looking to get their foot into the tech door, all through a relatable story, my story, the story I'm going to share with you right now. So let's answer that question. How did I end up in tech, in Silicon Valley specifically? Well, I really think it had to do with my upbringing. You see, I was raised in a matriarchy, and as the youngest of 5 sisters, and having my mom as head of the household, I learned a lot about the world and how to view the world. And in addition, I grew up in a very creative environment with early exposure to art and design, which have allowed me to overcome obstacles in numerous times throughout my life. The very first obstacle was actually when I moved from Colombia, where I'm from, to South Florida. Because I didn't speak English, I could not be understood by my classmates. But I figured everybody understands a stick figure, so why not draw to communicate? And that's what I did. And right there and then, at the age of 8, I discovered the power of creativity and how much you can solve a problem just by putting a little creative juice into the mix. And this has helped me tremendously throughout my career and my adult life. The second obstacle had to do with being the youngest in my household. As you now know, I'm the youngest of my 5 sisters, but overall, I always felt like an equal. I never really saw them as older siblings. In fact, I cared more about the relationship of friendship that we built rather than our differences in age. And this has also helped me tremendously in the workforce and even in college years, where I would take on projects or even apply to graduate school for a level much higher than I probably could have attained had I not had these experiences early on where I could collaborate with anybody regardless of age. The third obstacle, and a bit more obvious, is just being a girl. You see, I grew up in this matriarchy, and never for once did I imagine or got told that because I was a girl somehow I was lesser than or not able to do whatever my heart desired. Let alone being Latina. Nobody ever said to me, because you're Latina, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And the reason why we grew up in a matriarchy is because when I was 7, my dad passed away. That's why my mom was left as head of the household. And although that experience transformed the dynamic of the household, it brought so many valuable lessons to all of us, like understanding that we could do anything as women because we had no choice but to do everything ourselves. So when I fast forward into more present years, and I remember walking into my first job and being the only girl in the room in a male-dominating industry like tech is, again, I never felt different. Why? Because I was hired to be a designer, and that was a promise I was delivering on amongst my peers. And I had the same expectations of anybody in the room or across the table from me. So it was more about equal expectations rather than seeing our physical differences. And let me tell you, if you view the world through that lens, you will feel so confident and empowered to reach any goal you set. The fourth and most marking, I think, obstacle that I've overcome throughout my younger years has been through my mom and dad. When you think of losing a parent, you obviously feel heartbroken, scared. And for all of you who have not experienced that, it's almost an unimaginable feeling. But when you lose both parents before you're an adult, I think truly that feeling is terrifying. And that's exactly what happened to me. By the time I was 17, I lost my mom, my best friend, my confidant, mi amiga, mi mejor amiga. And that changed me deeply. And after I processed the emotions and I grieved and I learned a lot through that process, I realized that they weren't really gone, that they left me a legacy of service and hard work. My dad was a lawyer, and through his work, he helped so many people. And I inherited that interest in helping others. And through my mom, a typical Latina mama, she was tough as a cookie, but so sweet, loving, caring, and hardworking that I inherited that attitude that we call in Colombian Spanish, echada pa'lante. In other words, her being fearlessly forward helped me become that same type of woman today. And all this way of being raised and the different types of obstacles I overcame have helped me tremendously to figure out what kind of goals do I seek in life, specifically my professional life. For example, upon graduating from grad school, I wanted to be the best designer I could ever be. And what better place than doing so at Apple? So I joined Apple. I surrounded myself with the top designers from the world who were humbling and taught me so much about this world. So that was kind of my goal. And at Airbnb, my goal was to learn and absorb as much as I could from the best startup at the time, which was Airbnb. And later on, when I joined Google, I pivoted my interests into the area of leading and leadership and management and mentorship, because these were key qualities that I wanted to seek as a professional. And at Google, I got that opportunity. So that helped me grow in a different direction and expand my skill set. And after thinking for a while and collecting all this experience, I realized that I was ready to take on my own company. And that's when I made the biggest and most difficult decision in my career to date, which was to start my own company, Tijiko. And Tijiko allows expert educators to connect with students from all over the place with the hope of humanizing technology in order to help all of us together. But I want to pause here and say something very important, especially coming from a Latina. We're often told in our Latino culture to not dream very big, to kind of stay within a box and not follow your gut. And maybe you get advice from all kinds of people who don't really know what they're talking about for the specific decision that you're trying to make in your profession or even in your other areas of your life. But when I started my own company, I decided to challenge that, to take it even further than what I had already done. Because I decided to break out of that mold, dream super big, because let me tell you, we all can dream big, and dreaming is free. So you can dream as much as you want. And I started finding people, mentors, guides that truly knew what it was like to start a company and get mentorship from them so that I could learn and apply it back into my own world. And this has allowed me to become fearlessly forward, just like my mom taught me, in order to continue helping people the way my dad did, all through being a woman Latina in tech. And I'd like to conclude with a quote from the Harvard Business Review. And that quote goes something like this: in order to change the way you feel, you first have to change the way you see the world. Because this is exactly how you become fearlessly forward, and how that little girl from Colombia ended up right here working in the heart of Silicon Valley.